Is it really that important to stay hydrated for better performance? And if it is, what's the best drink for the job? Let's talk about that. How's it going, guys? My name is Richie Kirwan, and today we're going to talk all about staying hydrated, what it means, why it matters, especially for sports, and what common drinks are better or worse for keeping you in that hydration sweet spot. I'll also answer the common question of whether tea and coffee are any good for improving hydration. I also want to mention that a lot of the info I got for this video came from a great review by Bell Valadol. So if you want to really geek out on the topic, you can find the paper and all the references from the video in the comment section below. So, just in case you weren't already aware, if you don't drink, you die. Now, while you're recovering from that shocking revelation, it's also worth mentioning that most of what you are made up of, 70% in fact, is water, which is found inside our cells, in the liquids surrounding them, and in the various liquids inside our bodies, like blood and lymph. So, as you might have guessed, water is pretty important. We lose water in a few different ways, through urine when you pee, in our sweat, and through our breath as water vapor. That means when we exercise, we lose more water than normal because we usually sweat more and breathe harder. But you might be asking, why does this even matter? Well, if you are even slightly dehydrated, your body's ability to function is impaired. And there's a lot of evidence to show that dehydration leads to problems with things like thermoregulation, or our body's ability to regulate our temperature. It can cause excess cardiovascular strain and changes in blood pressure, blood flow and heart rate. And it can make it harder for our muscles to work properly. One way to think of it is like this. If you exercise a lot and don't take in enough fluids to replace the water you lose in sweat and your breath, your body needs to get water from somewhere, and it takes it directly from your blood. The problem with this is if you lose water from your blood, you have less blood volume, and your heart needs to work harder to pump that blood around your body because of a drop in blood pressure. This can really cause your performance on the field or in the gym to drop, and makes exercise seem a hell of a lot harder than it should be. So, if you want to go into the gym and train as hard as you possibly can, which you should because harder, higher volume training can lead to more gains in muscle size and strength, or if you just want to perform at the best of your ability in any sport, being properly hydrated is essential. So, before we talk about how best to hydrate, we should probably mention how you know if you're properly hydrated in the first place. And there's a very easy way to do it. You can just check out the color of your pee. You see, if you're dehydrated, there will be less water in your pee and a higher concentration of solutes and waste products, which means your pee will be darker in color. While you're peeing, you can compare the color of your pee to some common 8 or 7 color scales, which give you an idea of how hydrated or dehydrated you are. As you can see in this chart, if your urine is very pale or straw colored, like in colors 1 to 3, you're doing fine. If your pee is more of a yellow or orange color, like in colors 4 to 6, then you're dehydrated and you need to drink more. And if your pee is dark orange or brown, like colors 7 or 8, for the love of God, please just drink something. Basically, if you spend most of the day peeing a very light colored urine, it's a sign that you're taking care of your hydration. And this is why I don't tell people to drink X liters of water every day, because the number is different for everyone and depends on their body size, genetics, their sweat rates, and how physically active they are. That's why basing how much you drink on your urine color is much more useful, because it tells you what you need for your body. On the other hand, if your pee often comes out completely clear, you're probably overhydrating, and that could lead to a loss of many salts and electrolytes. It's always possible to have too much of a good thing. So, the next thing you probably want to know, what's the best drink to hydrate you? Or to help get water into your system? Well, if you thought it was water, that's actually a pretty good guess. Water is considered the standard when it comes to hydration, and scientists have developed a beverage hydration index, or BHI, which is based on the volume of urine that you produce after drinking in relation to still water, which is the standard. So, how do other drinks compare to plain old water? Well, as you can see, sparkling water is virtually identical, but cola seems to be a little more hydrating, although it's not statistically significant. Diet Cola and sports drinks are virtually the same as water too. But next up is something called oral rehydration solution, which is significantly more rehydrating than water. Well, what's an oral rehydration solution, I hear you ask? Well, it's a drink that's specifically designed to replace fluids in order to prevent and treat dehydration. It's often used in cases of chronic diarrhea or in diseases like cholera, where many people die of dehydration because they lose so much water, in their poop. So, oral rehydration solutions are really good for hydration because in addition to water, they contain small amounts of sugar and electrolyte salts like potassium and sodium. And that's what makes the absorption of fluids in oral rehydration solutions much more effective than water alone. That's why many sports drinks contain sugar and electrolytes to improve water absorption in the gut to keep athletes well hydrated while competing. The presence of sugar is also why orange juice, the next on the BHI list, is more effective than water too. After that, lager, coffee, tea are all pretty equally hydrating as water. I hear a lot of people saying that you can't drink tea or coffee to get hydrated, and that's absolute. While tea and coffee do have very slight diuretic effects, which means that they make you pee a little more, the amount of water that they contain is more than enough to help keep you hydrated. Obviously, that wouldn't be the case if you're trying to rehydrate it with espressos because the amount of water they contain is so little. But yeah, tea and coffee are perfectly fine to help you get more water into your system. Finally, at the end of the BHI list are whole and skimmed milk, with skim milk being the most hydrating of all the drinks tested. And again, this is probably due to the content of sugars, electrolyte salts, and possibly protein, which improve the absorption in the gut. So why would whole milk be a little less hydrating than skimmed? Well, we know that fat can actually slow down gastric emptying a little, but it's still better than plain old water. Before I finish on the drinks, I also should point out that you can also get water from foods. Many fresh fruits and salad vegetables can provide a lot of hydration and can definitely contribute to your daily water intake, so don't forget to include plenty in your diet. On a final note, for a practical take-home point, you can stay perfectly hydrated throughout the day with a range of different drinks and foods, and keeping an eye on the colour of your pee is a pretty decent indicator of how well hydrated you are. But if you're training for a long time, or especially if you're competing in a sport where you sweat a lot or in high temperatures, drinking beverages with added sugar and salt, like orange juice or skim milk, if you tolerate milk, may be optimal for replacing your lost fluids as quickly as possible. You can also buy plenty of isotonic sports beverages which do the same thing. So, did that clear everything up about hydration? As always, if you have any more questions, let me know in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe to the Myprotein YouTube channel for more great evidence-based nutrition information.